And welcome back, folks. This is U.S. Home Talk. Is this our fourth show? I believe that it is. We're live every Wednesday at noon on Facebook, YouTube. You can find us on all of the podcasting platforms, and we're very excited to be here today. We got a big show planned. Marcus is going to be leading us off with how buyers buy in a seller's market. We have, of course, our great producer and insurance guru, Evan Little, here as well. And then we have our first guest on the show, Chris Hanson with Great Home Movers. Will be joining us talking about his company and the partnership that we have created and all the stuff we're doing together. So good to see you guys.
Hey, good afternoon.
Absolutely. Great to be here. We've got... folks, we appreciate everyone's patience with the new podcasting studio. And as many of you know, I am not technologically advanced in many areas. And so thank goodness we've got Evan to guide us through it. I would expect in the coming shows, we're going to be dialed in pretty tight. Mike Overson, Mortgage Mike Overson with Illuminate Home Loans. He is off this week. He is actually on his way up to the annual fishing extravaganza that he has every year with, I think there's like 15 or 20 guys that go up there. And, they're quite the fishermen. They've been talking about retiring from all of their jobs and becoming professional fishermen. Maybe do a show or something. We'll see what their ideas are like after they get back this weekend. So, but Chris and Marcus, appreciate you being here. Marcus, before I hand it over to you, I want to jump into Chris a little bit and talk about him and his company. We're excited to have you on as the first official guest on U.S. Home Talk, Chris.
Yeah, so, I feel really blessed to be here. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You should feel very special.
Yeah.
And especially since we're working through some things, so we appreciate it. I guess let's start a little bit. It's Chris Hanson, Great Home Movers, a moving company that we're partnering with. You've helped out our clients in the past. You've done an incredible job with the moving needs that many buyers and sellers have in the real estate market. So I think one of the things that let's talk a little bit about you and your company, and then I've got a few questions to throw at you.
Sure. So, I started this business about 5 years ago, and really didn't have a whole lot of experience running a business, but it's actually been great. I've been able to network with a lot of people, meet so many amazing other business owners, and really had the awesome experience of just helping out so many clients over the years. I'd say it's a really fulfilling, position. People are really, concerned, overwhelmed. They don't know what to do during their move. Typically, it's a huge project, and we love seeing their smiley faces after we help them take care of it and, relieve all the stress from that project.
Well, I think the moving part of it, the actual physical moving part of a real estate transaction is one of the most stressful, and I think that, we never realize how much stuff we have until we've sold our home and we have to move to the next one. And it is remarkable and astonishing the amount of stuff we can get into a room or a basement or a storage area or a garage. And so I think always one of the nice things about moving is it gives you an opportunity to purge the things that we don't need, although most of what we have, we don't need anyway. But Great Home Movers, Chris and his team do a great job. Chris, what are some things that people need to look for when they're hiring a moving company? So, maybe it's your first time hiring a moving company. What are some things that people need to look for?
I would say that you really want to, look for someone who is, look for a company that, takes pride in what they do. You're going to want to search their reviews, see, what other people say about them. But another thing is, really talk to your real estate professionals, talk to people they have a relationship with. And You are going to, you're going to want to, make sure that they have some of the, licensing and insurance. Those are really the, the, basics that they want to have. But really beyond that, you're going to want to look for someone who, just has a, amazing relationship with other people in networking groups. Sorry, I got to tell you, when you don't do this very often,
well, I'll tell you what I'm looking for when I hire a moving company, and that is I want someone who is going to be honest, do what they say they're going to do. They're going to show up on time, and if there's any issues, they're able to work through those, and that's exactly what you guys do. Tell me a little bit about the scheduling process of how does that typically work?
Yeah, so we are going to, want to come out and do an in-person bid. There's a lot of people who will, take a look at stuff through Zoom, just want to take an inventory over the phone, and won't want to take the time to actually come out and physically look at the situation. If you're working with someone like that and they want to propose to do like Zoom over the phone, that's going to be a mistake. You learn so much just from the job and the situation by actually coming out there. And we're going to be able to connect a lot more in that personal interaction as well. So, like you're saying, you want to get to know that mover, get to know the person who's going to be in your house, have some kind of a trust and relationship with them. And that's going to be really important to make that decision,
And you want to find out what's important to the client. I mean, each customer has different needs and they have different goals. And some things are more important than others. And that's kind of part of your first meeting and your discovery of what their needs are and how you guys can fulfill them. You talk about a moving company, which you're the owner and founder, but you have employees. So I think, oftentimes people, they wonder, where do you get your employees? What does your hiring process look like? And, what kind of standards have you set for the people that are picking up the furniture and moving it on the truck?
Sure. That's a great question. So we really, when we're hiring, we're looking for people who are, have a lot of customer service experience. It's easy to train someone to move things. Lifting properly is obviously something important to, train as well. But, that can be done a lot easier than customer service. So we look for people with that kind of a background. We want to make sure that the people that are going to be in your house potentially all day or multiple days, are going to be people that you want to have there. So, I want to make sure as well, because I work with them pretty closely, that they're people that I want to be around as well. So
So they're not going to show up in a cutoff T-shirt and smoking a Marlboro while they're moving your stuff.
No, that is correct. We do have, we've heard some horror stories, and we'd like to think that we're not going to fall into that category. So yeah, my employees know what I expect. We do expect, that we want to be known as the best moving company. We want to, leave your area looking better than when we got there. We don't want to have any garbage laying around at the end of the job. We don't want to have people coming in, smelling like they've been on a bender all night. You hear a lot of stuff in the industry, and I also think that being that the size that we are able to be a little more picky and choosing. And when you hire us, you're definitely not going to have like our 18th ranked crew out at your house.
Right. Well, I think you guys provide the white glove service of a moving company, and you guys do an excellent job. What happens if something breaks? What happens because it happens, right? I mean, accidents happen. What happens if damage occurs? How do you guys handle that?
Everything is kind of on a case by case basis. I mean, there is a state minimum amount of liability that we are required to do, and let me tell you, it is not very good. It's 100 pound. It's 60 cents per pound for the item damaged. So like 100-pound sofa, if something happens to it, we're liable for $60 off your bill. Now there are other insurance options and valuations, but really what I'm trying to do is make sure that we continue to have good relationships with our real estate professionals, with our other referral partners, and with our previous clients, so that we are more willing to take care of something and make it right at the end of the day. Because I don't want to screw up my relationship with you, Jason. Come on now. I want to make you look like the hero for recommending me. All right.
Yes.
So absolutely. We are going to work with you. We have technicians that we work with to come out and fix things, or we can sometimes come up with a monetary amount. But we are going to work with you to come up with a fair solution that at the end of the day, you're going to be happy that you moved with us.
Yeah, you're going to make it right. And issues come up in all areas of business. And, that's one of the things that we strive for as well, is if mistakes are made, we're going to work through it, and we're going to make it right and make sure that all parties are satisfied. Last question for you, Chris. Do you guys just do homes? Do you just do residential homes, or do you also do commercial?
We do commercial as well. So we do actually do some cabinet delivery as well as we do office moves. You can hire us to, move an automotive shop. You can hire us to, we've done a lot of industrial moves. We've done other real estate offices, insurance companies, really, you name it. We'll come out and take a look at it. And we usually have the resources to get it done. And sometimes we have to look to other partners as well.
Sure.
But we will make those situations work. And if I can't, I'm going to give you a referral to someone who can.
I love it. Chris, what's the best way for people to connect with you? How can they find you? And what's all your info?
All right. So greathomemovers.com.
Okay.
And then you can also reach me cell phone. You can text me or call me 763-227-2041. Just leave a message if I'm not available. I'm constantly running into offices for Jason, insurance offices, mortgage places, trying to get the word out. And so I usually call back as soon as I'm available. Look forward to hearing from everyone out there.
Well, Chris, you've done a great job for us and our team and our clients. We appreciate the partnership. I look forward to many more years together, and just keep doing what you're doing, because you guys are doing a great job.
All right. Thanks. I appretiate it, Jason.
You got it.
Thanks for having me on.
You bet, buddy. Have a great day.
All right. You too. I'll start breathing now.
All right, folks, we're going to shoot this over to the great Marcus Walgrave. He has come in with hundreds of pages of content this morning. Evan, I don't think I let you know yet, but this is going to be a 13-hour show. So hopefully you brought lunch.
Hang on. I'm just going to start playing the intro music. The outro music, I mean. We're done here. All right.
That's it. Game over. All right, Mark.
I tell you what, guys, listening to Chris speak about his business over there at Great Home Movers, I think it's my last two moves. I shouldn't say, but my wife and we hired professional movers to move us here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I remember the first time we did it, we got a quote, and we kind of got the quote, and it was like, whoa, maybe a little bit of a sticker shock. But when it was all said and done, we wrote the check to the people who removed it, and they got us from our previous home into our new home. We wrote the check. The movers, they headed out of the house, and we looked at each other. My wife and I, we looked at each other, and we high-fived each other. We're like, yes, that's the best money we've spent probably since we've known each other. Maybe a second to only our marriage at that time. And it was a great experience to hire professionals. You don't really want to be that guy who's reaching out to your friends and your family. We don't get younger as the days go by. We only get older. And we don't want to, one, we don't want to get hurt ourselves. And you definitely don't want to have any of your friends or family get hurt, lifting up some, oddly shaped dresser or furniture piece. So I can't emphasize enough how valuable it is to hire professional movers. You'll be happy you did it. I mean, how many times, Jason, have you heard people say, "Oh yeah, I got my buddies coming, or I got my aunt, or my uncle's coming, or my dad's coming, my grandpa's coming," and you just kind of rubbing your head and just like, "Oh man, I hope nobody gets hurt." And then when somebody does get hurt, I mean, the cost of having to go to see your doctor, or the cost to go see your chiropractor, 6 months of a sore back. The next thing you know, you broke even, but you still had to go all that pain and suffering of doing the movie yourself. So it's just like, just inquire about it. At the very least, inquire about hiring professional movers. And, if you do pull the trigger on it, you're going to be happy.
Well, I agree 100%. So my wife and I, we moved into our house about 9 years ago. And prior to that, I had moved 12 times from when I left home until where I was at. And never, of course, never hired a mover because, probably, ego played something into that. But we thought, okay, we're going to hire a moving company. So the last time that I moved, I hired a moving company, and I agree with you, Marcus, 100%. Best money I spent. I mean, I can't, and you guys, it's all a cart too. I mean, you can have them come in and do everything. You can have them pack the dishes and box it, or you can just have them move the boxes and the furniture. But oh my goodness, I mean, game changer. Talk about stress relief from the actual physical moving of the stuff. So I agree 100%. I think that folks should look at the very least, look at the options of a moving company, because it was a great experience. Highly recommend it. I'll never move again without a moving company.
Yeah, right. Never move again. Isn't that the truth? You kind of joked about maybe it was ego for you. It was definitely me being cheap on my end. I don't have anything to prove to anybody about how much I can lift, because it's not much. So I'm not looking to show off but I definitely appreciate waking up and not being sore or injured, worst case scenario. So, so awesome to have you on, Chris. And obviously if you guys need some more information, about that mover up in the Twin Cities, reach out to Jason or check out their website, greathomemovers.com. I'm in the Sioux Falls, South Dakota market. I service the Sioux Empire. I'm also licensed in Minnesota as well. Jason and I, we grew up in the southwest corner of Minnesota. And so, from family and friends that we have in that area, I am able to go over there and service them. Sioux Falls is about 18, 20 miles just west of the Minnesota, the southwest Minnesota border. So, if you guys need any movers down there, you guys can always find me online at marcuswalgrave.com. So today we're talking about buying in a seller's market. Jason, you can go online and you can do a Google search and get some really good information, general information. Probably one of the most important things that you can do if you are looking to buy in this seller's market, get in the camera there, seller's market, is to align yourself with a real estate professional, a licensed realtor with a lot of experience. And the reason why I say that is because you hear the national news and especially in these last couple of years, seller's market. But Jason, as well as I know that even in a predominant seller's market, there are going to be buying opportunities. One could even argue that a specific price range or a specific type of home is a buyer's market in these last couple years. I think just to speak for myself here in the Sioux Empire, one thing that what I noticed here last year, 2020, 2021, and maybe a little bit of that at the end of 2022, if you are looking for if you were a buyer and you were looking for new construction and you got past the spring parade and you're maybe in that price range of about 800,000 plus for new construction, you are going to have a good inventory to go look at. That specific market of new construction, higher end, that it'd be higher end for us down the Sioux Empire, that 800,000 plus. And so if you're just going into it thinking, okay, this is seller's market across the board, doesn't matter what I'm buying, you could definitely leave a lot of money on the table just by not knowing that, hey, there's some good deals to be made, or even some opportunities to say, hey, we saw this home on the spring parade. I see that you're still not under contract. We really like it, but we were kind of hoping that we could get maybe this upgrade on it. We'll pay you list price, but we're looking to negotiate an upgrade feature in the house, and you can have opportunities to get that.
Well, I agree 100%. And you kind of started off the conversation mentioning how important it is to hire a experienced top real estate agent or team. And, guys, look, everybody knows, 1,500 real estate agents, right? But when you're thinking about buying or selling a home, and today we're talking about buying, when you're thinking about buying a home, do not hire Uncle Billy that had his license back in 1984 that reactivated it during COVID because he thought it'd be some, a good hobby to do. You need to hire someone that is full-time, serious about the business. They have a strategy to help you buy that home under the best terms and win in multiple offers. We've developed a 19-step strategy on how to win in multiple offers. Make sure that the team or agent that you're hiring, they have the experience to win those, and make sure they have a great reputation in the business. I can't tell you how many deals that we've won over the years because the listing agent knows our team, knows our reputation. They know Mike Overson at Luminate Home Loans, so they know that the loan is going to get done. And we've won deals that were less money, but because we were attached to the transaction as the real estate agents and Mike as the mortgage team, we're winning those deals. So, look, this is, for most folks, it's the largest financial purchase of your life, buying a home. You owe it to yourself to hire the best professionals out there and interview them and take some time. It's a big deal. Don't hire Uncle Billy from 1984.
Unless Uncle Billy is, full time, he's been crushing it, and he's got tons of transactions, and he's highly experienced in today's market. We talk about this between Jason, you and I. We usually touch base at least weekly and talk about what's going on in the market, and even on a weekly basis, it seems like it's not enough.
Right.
So if you do have a family friend that has their license and maybe their last time that they've done a transaction was a full quarter ago. I mean, that's a lot has changed in 3 months. A lot has changed in 3 weeks. I mean, you could easily make that argument as well, especially with interest rates improving, things of that nature. So definitely something that you said, Jason, that I really appreciate as well, is as a buyer, make sure that you understand that you have the right and the opportunity to, in a sense, interview your prospecting realtor or realtor team. You just give them a call and say, hey, I would like to stop by your office and sit down and just chat for a half hour or an hour. You'd be surprised on how many things that you may have. And if you are one of those individuals, you're probably ahead of the curve. You have a good game plan, but even that, you'd be surprised that when you sit down and you speak with an experienced realtor, they're going to let you know, say, hey, have you thought about this? You brought up some really good points. I'm glad I've been able to answer those questions for you, but you haven't really touched on this idea or this topic of a purchase in a move, things of that nature. What are your thoughts on that? So you can learn a lot just from that interview with that realtor, and even if they are experienced and good, but you're just not really meshing with them.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, you got to find somebody that you feel good about, you're happy with. You're going to be working with this individual, especially if you're looking to buy. It may take a couple more months than it normally would have if we went back 3-4 years ago. So you're going to be working with this individual and their team for several months. So be certain that you have the right person working for you.
And Marcus, you're right. It's an interview. Every single prospective buyer and seller that I meet with, that's a job interview for me. And we come in with buyers We have a wonderful buyer presentation. We have a guide that we give them on buying your home. I provide my resume, my team's resume, all of our experience, because it is a job interview. Every single new buyer and seller that we meet is a job interview. And so folks, do the research. Like Marcus said, maybe they got a great resume, but it doesn't feel like it's going to work. You don't want to spend the next month with that person. That's okay. That's okay.
It is okay.
So you should work with somebody that you're confident, comfortable in, and you're sure that they're able to get the job done and get you the best possible terms in the house you're going to buy.
It's always interesting to see how much time somebody will put into researching the next TV they buy.
Yes.
But they're totally cool with hooking up with the host of an open house,
right.
Not knowing anything about them, didn't have a chance to talk to them at all because it was a busy open house. Inventory is low. Buyers are increasing by the day with this attractive interest rate, and they just get in bed with them right out of the after an open house, and it's like jeepers. You spent like 2-3 weeks trying to figure out what TV you wanted, and you spend about 5 minutes in choosing your realtor. So you take your time, get ahead of the curve. We don't have Mike on the show here this today, but I think something that else is really important if you're looking to buy in a seller's market. Jason, you talked about multiple offers. We are in the month of January. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. This is a hot January. It may not have been as hot as last January or the January before that, but I mean, you could argue if we were at 2019 and earlier, it's one of those hot Januaries. Yeah. And so, having if you're a buyer out there, there's a good chance that you're going to run into a competition. When you submit an offer. So having that game plan, we don't have Mike, like what I was alluding to is, we don't have Mike on the show today, but making sure that you are pre-approved with a home loan. As Mike said a couple weeks ago on the show, there are a ton of buyers that are pre-approved. So if you think you can hop into today's real estate market, work with an inexperienced realtor, and also don't have your ducks in a row, like having your pre-approval letter, and think that you're going to have a chance at winning in a multiple offer situation, it's going to be super duper tough. I mean, you might as well buy some Powerball tickets if you think you got that kind of luck.
Well, that's a great point. And you talked about pre-approval. You need to be pre-approved as a buyer, not pre-qualified as a buyer. I mean, there's plenty of big box online mortgage companies out there that'll, you enter some information, they shoot you out a pre-qualification letter. Sellers don't want to see that. Then the paper it's printed on, you need to be pre-approved. What's the difference? If you're pre-approved, the mortgage company, Mike, for example, will take you through the process. He'll collect docs, he'll verify income, employment, everything that he needs to present to the underwriter. And so now you're talking about not just pre-qualified based on answering some questions, but pre-approved based on verification of the documents that the loan officer has requested. You got to put because look, right now, folks, 1/3, 33% of all offers right now are cash. They're cash offers. So you have some obstacles to overcome with being in competition with cash offers. Does that mean you can't win? No, it does not mean that at all. But you got to have everything else lined up. You got to have a strategy, all the additional things that we do that we know can increase your likelihood of winning a multiple offer, even if you're not cash, and make sure that you spend the time to prepare yourself, because when you start looking, you got to act fast, because we're already seeing multiple offers, folks. Right now in January, we're seeing multiple offers in the $300,000 price range, the $500,000 price range, even the $800,000 price range. Multiple offers right now in January. That, I believe, will only increase. I think that this coming spring will be similar to last spring as far as the amount of buyer activity and the amount of offers that are out there. So again, you got to align yourself with the best in the business, real estate and mortgage, and make sure you give yourself the best shot at winning those deals.
So you had a chance to interview a couple of realtors. You liked the one that you're working with, whether maybe you're working with Jason or myself. We full-time realtors with, I'm almost 10 years of experience. Jason, over 20 years of experience representing clients and providing them with real estate services. When you talk about these aggressive offers, one thing that I think is important and comes with that experience of your realtor is simply having that conversation with your client saying, hey, you worked with Mike, or you worked with a mortgage banker that I work with here in the Sioux Empire, and you've been pre-approved for a $600,000 loan. And I'm, just letting you know that is, that type of home is going to fall into that seller's market. We're going to run into some competition. It's likely, if a house is priced fairly, that we are going to be in a multiple offer situation. If that is the case, maybe what we need to do is start out, when we start looking at our homes, maybe we should start out at that 550 mark. Let's not start out at $600,000 homes, because that's where your pre-approval amount is. So if we need to really sweeten our offer, maybe go above list price to get that home, you're going to be in a tough position to do that. And don't be discouraged against those cash offers. Today's financed offers, especially the conventional type home loan, they're different than what they were in the early 2000s. I mean, somebody could even make the argument that they're about just as good as cash is. That's the number of boxes that need to get checked for somebody to be pre-approved for a home loan. I mean, they're pretty locked and loaded and just slightly under that cash buyer. So, if you're looking to finance, you're still going to be able to do well.
Yeah, and be flexible, right? I mean, be flexible on the closing date, on the timing. Your agent that represents you should be having a conversation with the listing agent and asking some basic questions like, when would the seller like to close? Does the seller have any, unusual circumstances? Are they looking for something extra? Ask the questions. Maybe you have a seller that is in a situation where they would like to, they'd like to close in 90 days. Typically closings are 30 to 45 days, but maybe they would like to close in 90 days. If you can accommodate that, and there's a cash offer that wants to close in 30 days, we're probably going to win that deal if the offers are close. Or maybe the seller, maybe they want to close in 30 days, but they want to do a rent back for 90 days. And so as a buyer, you have to be creative and patient on closing days. Potentially, you have to be willing to, kind of think outside the box, and be open to, maybe doing some different things than you've done in the past because of the type of seller's market that we're in. And make sure that your agent can explain what it means to do that. And so, I mean, last year and the year before, we had more offers with no inspection, with no home inspection. Well, is that a good thing? Well, it's probably not a good thing, but our job is to explain what it means to write an offer that's not contingent on inspection. What's the risk to it? What's the potential outcomes? What does it mean? So our part of our job is to give you all of your options, explain what it means if you decide to choose one of those options. And then as a buyer, you make the decision what's best for you and your family.
Having a strategic plan, super important. And again, this goes back to the beginning of the show about, interviewing a realtor. When you do find your realtor, you're going to have an experience when that individual is going to say to you, hey, let's meet again and let's create this strategic plan to get you to be the winning buyer of an offer, especially if we are falling into homes that are in the seller's market. Expanding your search, explaining what those steps are in the offer. How can you make your earnest money super attractive? Maybe here in the Sioux Empire, Jason, buyers are able to get that home inspection put on the offer and get those offers accepted. Usually some sort of addendum to it. The offer might say, hey, we're not going to ask for items that are less than X amount of dollars, things of that nature. And it's just not just picking a dollar number, a dollar amount out of the air. I mean, you kind of have to have a general idea of, especially if it's a first time home buyer, they may not know, hey, I see that there a couple door stoppers are missing, and the sink stoppers weren't really working right. Should we ask for that? It's like, you're buying a home. You're going to have to do a lot more than those little things, as a homeowner. So instead of telling the seller to do those things, you can go to a big box store, buy those extra parts for very cheap dollars, in some cases, and do the work yourself. Don't ask for something like that. Or understanding how much it costs for what big ticket items are and what are the big ticket items. So, having those plans, super important, being able to explain that to them before you submit an offer. I mean, how many times do you think a buyer, is like, hey, let's go write up an offer on this house. Okay, awesome. Let's get to the office. You get to the office, and then the seller starts the realtor starts explaining to them, okay, this is what we should be doing with this offer. And they're like, whoa. Okay. It makes sense, but I was thinking, we just had to talk about closing dates and purchase price. Now we're kind of throwing everything out at me, and you're overloading the system. And now I'm kind of getting nervous about the situation. And right out of even if that person gets their offer accepted, they kind of sit back and they're like, man, like that was wild. I was not expecting that. I didn't get any heads up to that's what was going to happen. And then they start kind of getting that little feeling in their stomach, like, maybe this wasn't the house for me. Maybe I shouldn't have done those terms to that offer. We've been seeing, an uptick in buyers walking away from offers here in the last several months. And a lot has to do with they just didn't have the plan up front. They just didn't have the right team support. They didn't really know what they're getting into.
Well, you're right. And we talk so much about the pre-approval process with your lender, with Mike Overson at Luminate Home Loans. But there's a preparation period that you should have with your real estate agent, and talking about the things that Marcus, you just mentioned. What does the process look like? What does an offer look like? Are we going to be asking for things, or do we need closing costs, or to know up front the buyer's needs, because there's going to be some wants and then there's going to be some needs, the must-haves. To know all this up front when you get to the point where you walk through the house, because once we get into that market where there's a lot of multiple offers, folks, as a buyer, you got to act. Immediately. You walk through that house, and if you like it, your agent's got to go back and get that offer drafted, signed, and submitted. So do your preparation beforehand, so you have the majority of your questions answered of, what if we do this, or what if we do that? That way that you can act quicker. In this type of a market, you have to act as quickly as you can.
Even as myself being a realtor, full-time realtor for almost 10 years, in helping clients with hundreds of transactions over these years, it's still something to where I lean on you, Jason, as my real estate mentor, and even when I'm making personal decisions on real estate purchases, I still rely on my support team to make sure that I'm not missing anything, and even as myself, being a realtor, but being in the shoes of a buyer, you have the emotion going, and you get excited, and you kind of forget about some little things. So, it's even as myself as a realtor, I have always leaned on other realtors during the buying process.
Yeah, that's a great point. The emotional side of the transaction, right? For buyers and sellers on the home that you're living in or the home that you're selling, it's very emotional. Part of your agent's job is to be unemotional and to keep a cool head and talk about the facts and really keep things level, and that allows you to make decisions based on facts and needs, and not how you feel. And not saying that's not important, because it certainly is. That when you're buying a house, it better feel good, right?
Yeah.
but your agent, it should pull some of that emotional part of it out, and make sure that decisions are made on a cooler head. So
Yeah, that's a good point. Going back to that sitting down and coming up with the plan on what you're looking to buy. Maybe it's during the interview process, us realtors maybe asking you, hey, what are your must-haves? What are your must-haves? And how many times do you get it, Jason, where they say we need at least 4 bedrooms?
Yeah.
And so then you set up your criteria. You're sending them homes, 4 bedrooms. That's what they came in the office for. They outgrew their space. They outgrew the apartment, whatever it might be. They only got 3 bedrooms. They got twins on the way. And then all of a sudden they send you a listing, for that they found on Zillow and said, hey, what do you think about this one? It's like, It's 3 bedrooms. What do you want me? What do we want me to do? We can go see it, and even if you fall in love with it, I'm going to bring you back to that and say, hey, this is a great property. It's priced awesome, beautiful location, great neighborhood, 3 bedrooms. You said you needed 4. And so if you want to still move on it, that's fine. I mean, it's your decision. But you got to be you got to have those conversations and make sure that you're making the right decision. It's not like picking an apartment where you can just sign a 12-month lease and get out. I mean, you're purchasing this. You're a homeowner. So
yeah, it's a great point. All right, Marcus, what else we got on the list?
You kind of talked about it. It's not just about the price as well, Jason, and I think that's something too where again, kind of thinking about this, a buyer and a seller's market. If you're sitting there and you say, hey, I talked to my realtor, I've been talking to Jason or Marcus, and they have informed us that, the market is starting to level out a little bit, not as such extreme seller's market. There are some buying opportunities, but maybe you are still in that seller's market. And homes are selling for 1% or 2% under list price. If you go in there and you say, you know what, that I'm a first time home buyer, that home inspection is super important to me. And so it's like, okay, well, then just it's not likely we're going to be able to get this house at 99% list price if you want to ask for that home inspection. So don't stress about being that individual who paid 100% list price. You'll be like, oh, everybody's saying that they got their house under contract for 2% under list price or 3% on list price. Well, they're not telling you the entire offer, every part of the offer. They're just kind of picking the parts that they want to share. So if you have something that's very important, like a property inspection, and you still want to be the winner in that situation, kind of come into it and say, hey, there's other things that are more important than the overall purchase price, and have the right moves to make it happen.
Yeah, I was talking to an investor client this morning, exactly about these two things, and we were talking about pricing, the cost of homes. He's a single family home investor, and he made the comment. He said, "Doesn't matter what the price is. Doesn't matter what the interest rates are, and because it doesn't. What matters to him is how much is it going to cost me per month, and how much income will it bring in." And so it's numbers. And for a home buyer, it's the same thing. When you sit down with Mike, you figure out, this is what I want my monthly payment to be. And so, you figure, you work it backwards. And that means it's, X amount, that's the price range, right? So it doesn't really matter what the price is or what the interest rates are. It's what you're comfortable affording each month, what you're approved each month. And then you're able to make a decision. You don't get worked up with, interest rates and because the reality is that interest rates still, if they're in the mid to high fives, are still much better than the 40-year average, which is 8.25%. Right. And so it is. And then we also talk about, the cost of waiting as well. Right. And so if you just got this pricing in your head, like, I'm only going to spend X amount, and, I'm not going to spend any more of that. Well, what's the cost if you wait a year or two? What is the likely appreciation? So how much more will that house cost? And then let's talk, unless you're paying cash, which, let's talk about what does that mean per month? So every $10,000 more that you mortgage, it's about $60 a month, right? And so are you really gonna lose out on your dream home for 10 grand, which is $60 a month, especially if you've been looking for a while? These are all questions you have to ask yourself. Let's break it down to what it means for you per month, and then you can make your decisions that way.
As a buyer out there, if you're wondering if it's a good time to buy, just ask around and see if investors are buying. If the investors are buying, which they are, and they're buying as much as they can right now, if that's what they're doing, and if you think that it's not the right time to buy, I mean, you have to make sure that you're getting the right information.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, we always appreciate you tuning in. Of course, we'll be back every week at noon on Wednesdays via Facebook and YouTube. You can find us on all of the podcasting platforms. Any last thoughts, Marcus?
Just again, don't be afraid to interview some realtors if you don't have any. Jason just mentioned in previous shows, you can reach out to Jason. You can reach out to myself. Even if you're not looking in the Sioux Falls, South Dakota area or the Twin Cities, Minnesota area, we have connections with thousands of realtors throughout the nation and even world for that matter too. So it is something to where you can still reach out to us and we can help you find an exceptional realtor wherever you're looking to buy or sell.
We'll see you guys next week at noon. As always, you can find us online at ushometalk.com, and our 24-hour hotline is 612-234-7585. Have a great week.